The fluorescent lights of Lakewood University's chemistry building hummed faintly, a sound unnoticed by the few late-night custodians and maintenance crews who passed through the hallways. But deep above the classrooms, in the forgotten arteries of the building's ventilation system, something lay hidden for 17 years. It was November 14, 2024. Tom Rodriguez, a 52-year-old HVAC technician with 3 decades of experience under his belt, was crawling through the narrow ductwork on the third floor. The chemistry building, a relic from the 1960s, had seen generations of students, faculty, and experiments. Dust thickened in corners, the air was stale, and the shafts echoed every movement. Tom had been inside for hours, flashlight in hand, checking vents, connectors, and access points for routine maintenance. The building's fall inspection was nothing unusual, a yearly chore. But as his light traced the metal walls of a sealed section, one that architectural plans showed as abandoned since the 1980s, something caught his eye. Fabric, a fragment of white frayed unmistakable, a lab coat. Tom froze, heart thudding. His eyes adjusted to the shadows, and then he saw it, bone, pale, brittle, unmistakably human. "Oh my God," he whispered, voice trembling. He crawled back carefully, his hands shaking. Grabbing his radio, he reported, "Security, Tom here. Chemistry building, third floor ventilation. I found a body. Human remains. Call the police immediately." Campus security arrived within 15 minutes, followed shortly by Detective Michael Torres of the Lakewood Police Department. Torres, 44, a veteran with 18 years of experience, had seen many cases, but nothing had prepared him for this. Torres climbed into the ventilation shaft, flashlight slicing through darkness. Wedged in the narrow duct, the skeleton lay as though placed carefully, remnants of a white laboratory coat clinging to its form, blue jeans visible beneath, sneakers partially preserved. A distinct crack marred the left side of the skull, a blunt force injury. "How long has it been here?" Torres asked the forensic team. Based on degradation, they estimated between 10 and 15 years, possibly more. Torres' mind raced. A missing person case from the mid-2000s. A quick search of university records confirmed his suspicion. On October 19, 2007, Dr. Sophia Chen, a 28-year-old chemistry research assistant, had vanished without a trace. Her lab bench was left mid-experiment, a warm cup of coffee abandoned as if she had stepped away for a moment she never returned from. Torres called Detective Paul Stevens, who had led the original 2007 investigation. Now 68 and retired, Stevens answered immediately. "Sophia Chen," Stevens said, voice heavy with memory. "I never forgot that case. Brilliant young scientist, disappeared from her lab overnight. We searched everything, campus, forest, lakes. No trace. Her family devastated. I always wondered what happened." DNA samples from Sophia's family, collected from her father Dr. James Chen, confirmed the worst. The skeleton was hers. Sophia Marie Chen was born in California on August 15, 1979, into a family that had immigrated from Taiwan. From a young age, she excelled in academics, quickly developing a passion for chemistry. Valedictorian in high school, she pursued her studies at UC Berkeley before completing graduate work at the University of Michigan. By 2005, she had earned her doctorate in polymer chemistry, producing research that promised revolutionary advances in biodegradable plastics. Lakewood University had hired her in 2006 as a research assistant. Lab 304 became her domain, a place where innovation, curiosity, and meticulous experiments converged. Her goal: create polymers strong enough for practical use yet entirely biodegradable, offering alternatives to petroleum-based plastics. By 2007, she was on the cusp of a breakthrough. But success has its shadows. Dr. Richard Hartwell, 45, senior chemistry professor, had been at Lakewood since 1985. Though a competent teacher, his research had never garnered significant attention. Decades of effort had yielded publications, but none transformative. Hartwell had watched Sophia, young and brilliant, achieving in 2 years what he could not in 2 decades. Jealousy turned to obsession. He studied her lab notes, memorized her formulas, watched her work daily. Her achievements became unbearable. By October 2007, he was no longer just envious, he was consumed. Friday, October 19, 2007, Sophia worked late in Lab 304, unaware of the storm about to strike. Security had done their rounds. Students were gone. Hartwell, seated in his office nearby, had waited, rehearsing his confrontation, masking anger beneath a veneer of collegial concern. Finally, he entered. "Dr. Hartwell, what are you doing here?" Sophia asked, startled. "I saw you were working late," he said smoothly. "Mind if I see your progress?" Sophia hesitated. He was a senior professor. "Of course," she said, stepping aside. Minutes later, Hartwell's envy boiled over. Arguments erupted over perceived plagiarism, unintentional in Sophia's eyes. Panic and rage overcame him. He grabbed a metal laboratory stand and struck. Sophia collapsed, lifeless. Hartwell spent the next hours in meticulous concealment. He moved Sophia's body into the long-forgotten ventilation section, carefully sealing it. Blood was cleaned, her research stolen, cell phone discarded. By morning, he walked into the world as if nothing had happened. The campus search, the FBI involvement, the reward fund, none would find her. Hartwell's career, meanwhile, soared. Her stolen work, slightly modified, was published under Hartwell's name in 2008. Grants, conferences, promotions followed. By 2015, he was department head. Sophia's body remained above the very classrooms he walked past daily, a secret known only to him. As Tom Rodriguez stared at the remains on November 14, 2024, he had no idea that he was about to unravel a 17-year deception. Detective Torres knew it was a case that would shock the small college town, exposing betrayal, jealousy, and a crime hidden in plain sight for nearly 2 decades. Friday, October 19, 2007, began like any other evening in Lakewood University's chemistry building. The hallways were silent, the fluorescent lights casting a sterile glow over polished floors. Students had gone home, faculty offices were mostly empty, and Lab 304 held a quiet energy, the hum of scientific discovery, the faint aroma of solvents, and the faint rustle of papers. Sophia Chen, 28, brilliant and precise, was absorbed in her work. Her polymer experiments were nearing a breakthrough, a formula she hoped would revolutionize biodegradable plastics. Her notes lay meticulously organized, flasks glimmered under the lab lights, and a steaming cup of coffee waited at the edge of the bench, forgotten. She didn't notice Dr. Richard Hartwell approaching. Hartwell, 45, senior professor, had spent the past 2 years watching her brilliance, watching her rise while his own career stagnated. Years of envy had fermented into obsession, and tonight that obsession would erupt. "Dr. Chen," he said, his tone deceptively calm, "working late again." Sophia looked up, surprised but polite. "Yes, just finishing some final tests. Would you like to see the results?" He stepped inside, glancing over her notes. To Sophia, it was routine. To Hartwell, it was an opportunity. Every formula, every measurement, every carefully recorded observation. It was his chance to claim the genius that wasn't his. "Incredible work," he said. "But part of this seems very similar to my earlier research. Perhaps co-authorship would be appropriate." Sophia frowned, confused. "Dr. Hartwell, this is my work, completely my work. I've never seen your notes before." His smile flickered, replaced by a simmering darkness. "Accusing me?" he snapped. "I've worked here for 22 years and now you accuse me of theft." Sophia tried to calm him. "There must be a misunderstanding. I respect your work, but this is mine." The words, simple and polite, were not enough to diffuse the storm within Hartwell. Years of professional frustration, failure, and envy boiled over in an instant. The carefully constructed veneer of respect shattered. He grabbed the heavy metal lab stand beside the counter. In a flash, the argument became violence. Sophia stumbled, tried to evade him, but Hartwell's rage was faster, more brutal than anyone could have anticipated. A strike to her head, sharp and merciless, and the brilliant young scientist fell, her life extinguished in an instant. Hartwell stood frozen, panic flooding through him. This wasn't a theoretical experiment. This was reality. Sophia's lifeless body lay on the floor of Lab 304, a testament to his jealousy and obsession. For a moment he considered calling the police, but reality struck. His career, his reputation, his entire life would be destroyed. Then an idea, a horrific, calculated solution, formed in his mind. He would hide her. He would steal her research. He would continue his life as if nothing had happened. The ventilation shafts above Lab 304 had long been neglected. A sealed section, unused since the 1980s, offered the perfect hiding place. Hartwell worked with precision. Hours passed as he moved her body, carefully maneuvering through narrow ducts. He ensured every trace of evidence, blood, hair, fingerprints, was removed from the lab. Her notes were stolen, subtly altered, ready for publication under his name. Her cell phone was tossed into a remote corner of campus, a tiny gesture to prevent discovery. By dawn, Hartwell returned home, showered, and walked into the world with the calm of a man who had done nothing wrong. The campus quickly realized Sophia was missing. Her roommate called the authorities. Police scoured Lab 304, the hallways, surrounding buildings, nothing. The lab was pristine, bloodless, undisturbed. Hartwell feigned shock, offering condolences, claiming ignorance. Who would do this? She was such a brilliant student. I hope she's found, he told investigators. His credibility as a respected professor shielded him perfectly. Weeks became months. Private investigators were hired. The family offered rewards. The FBI became involved. 17 years of searching, of hope and despair, yielded nothing. All the while, Hartwell continued his career, publishing Sophia's research as his own. Grants flowed. Conferences celebrated his work. By 2010, he had become a full professor. By 2015, department head. By 2020, recipient of the university's highest academic honors. And above him, in the sealed ventilation shafts of Lab 304, Sophia Chen's remains waited in silence. A constant reminder, invisible to everyone, of the crime no one suspected. The university commemorated her every year. Memorials, scholarships, speeches, all under Hartwell's careful attendance. Each ceremony was an exercise in deception. He bowed his head, praised her brilliance, while the world remained unaware of his betrayal. James Chen, Sophia's father, attended each memorial, mourning, trusting, believing Hartwell's lies. 17 years passed like this. Hartwell's secret was perfect. His genius, his accolades, his recognition, all built atop a foundation of murder and theft. Then November 14, 2024, changed everything. Tom Rodriguez, crawling through the narrow ventilation ducts for routine maintenance, discovered the hidden remains. DNA testing confirmed the skeleton was Sophia Chen. Detective Michael Torres took the case, immediately understanding that this was no ordinary cold case. This was a labyrinth of deceit, obsession, and stolen genius, spanning nearly 2 decades. Torres enlisted genetic genealogy specialist Dr. Emily Ross, traced DNA from the bones, likely from the killer's skin cells during the attack, was analyzed. A profile was uploaded to public databases, family trees painstakingly reconstructed. Weeks passed. In December 2024, a name emerged: Richard Allen Hartwell. Department head, award-winning professor, respected academic, and murderer. Torres obtained a court order. December 18, 2024, he arrived at Hartwell's office. Hartwell, smiling, appeared unsuspecting. "Detective, how can I help?" he asked. "Dr. Hartwell, you're under arrest in connection with the murder of Dr. Sophia Chen," Torres said. The smile froze, silence, then Hartwell bowed his head. 17 years, he whispered. It's finally over. At the station, Hartwell requested an attorney, but after consultation he decided to confess. He spoke of his obsession, the night of the murder, the concealment of the body, and the theft of Sophia's research. He wept openly, confessing that he had lived with guilt, fear, and the weight of his crime for nearly 2 decades. I didn't plan to kill her, he admitted. I lost control. Jealousy consumed me. Every day I walked past her body. Every day I taught students. Every night I saw her in my dreams. I profited from her work. I lied. I lied to her family. I'm a monster. Lakewood University and the world were stunned. A respected professor, department head, award-winning scientist, a murderer and thief. James Chen gave a public statement. My daughter was 28. She had a brilliant future. Richard Hartwell stole her life, her research, and for 17 years deceived all of us. This betrayal cannot be measured in words. December 18, 2024, was a cold, gray morning in Lakewood. Detective Michael Torres arrived at Richard Hartwell's office with a sense of gravity that matched the year-long investigation. The office, filled with chemical models, framed awards, and stacks of scholarly papers, had once represented Hartwell's triumphs. Today, it was the scene of reckoning. Hartwell, 62, sat at his polished oak desk. His hair had thinned, his posture slumped slightly, but his eyes retained that same calculating sharpness. When Torres entered, Hartwell smiled politely, the mask of respectability firmly in place. "Detective, how can I help?" he asked, his voice calm, almost rehearsed. "Dr. Hartwell, you're under arrest in connection with the murder of Dr. Sophia Chen," Torres said, the words precise, carrying the weight of 17 years of injustice. For a long moment, Hartwell said nothing. The smile faltered. The world seemed to tilt on its axis as reality crashed in. Then slowly, he bowed his head. 17 years, he whispered, voice barely audible. It's finally over. Hartwell requested an attorney, but after a brief consultation, he agreed to speak with Torres and recount the events. In an interview room, sterile and unyielding, Hartwell's confession began. He spoke of his obsession with Sophia, the simmering envy that had plagued him for years, and the critical night of October 19, 2007. I didn't plan to kill her, he said, voice cracking. I just lost control. I had spent my whole life working, hopping for recognition, and she was brilliant, faster, better than me. I snapped. I struck her, and then I hid her. I hid her because I couldn't let this destroy my life. He detailed moving her body into the ventilation shaft, ensuring it was sealed and inaccessible. He explained how he cleaned the lab, modified Sophia's notes, and eventually published her research as his own. I took her life and her work, he admitted. And for 17 years I lived with it every day. Every lecture I gave, every student I taught, she was right above me, and I pretended I didn't know. Hartwell's tears fell freely. For 17 years he had played the perfect professor, attending memorials, speaking of her brilliance, offering condolences to her family, all while hiding the ultimate betrayal. I lied to her father, James Chen, Hartwell confessed. I said I remembered her and he believed me. I am a monster. Detective Torres, listening quietly, felt the weight of decades of injustice crystallize in that room. Hartwell was no longer just a respected academic. He was a murderer, a thief, and a deceiver of the highest order. March 2025 brought the courtroom to life with tension. The trial of Richard Hartwell drew national attention. The charges were severe: first-degree murder and theft of intellectual property. Hartwell's attorney attempted to negotiate for manslaughter, arguing a moment of rage without premeditation. Prosecutor Jennifer Walsh's voice cut through the courtroom like a laser. This was not a crime of passion alone, she said. This man hid the body of his victim for 17 years. He profited from her work, stole her recognition, and deceived the world. This was planned concealment, a calculated crime repeated every day he walked past that ventilation shaft. The jury deliberated for 6 tense days. Evidence was overwhelming. The forensic analysis, the genetic genealogy linking Hartwell to the crime, the detailed confession, and the academic trail of stolen research. Finally, the verdict was read: guilty of first-degree murder. The sentencing hearing was emotionally charged. James Chen, Sophia's father, stepped forward. His eyes were red from years of grief, but his voice was unwavering. "My daughter was 28, he began. She had the mind, the talent, the vision to change the world. Richard Hartwell stole that from her. For 17 years he profited from her brilliance while lying to her family, attending her memorials and pretending he cared. Every award he received, every recognition he took was built on her grave. He is not just a criminal, he is a betrayal to humanity." The judge's gavel struck, final and irrevocable. Hartwell was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. At 62, the earliest he could hope for freedom was at 92, a future starkly contrasted with the one he stole from Sophia. When asked to speak, Hartwell whispered, almost inaudibly, "I deserve it. Sophia didn't deserve any of this. I wish I could take back time." Lakewood University moved swiftly to restore Sophia Chen's rightful place in academic history. Lab 304 was renamed the Sophia Chen Research Laboratory with a plaque commemorating her life. Dr. Sophia Chen, 1979–2007. Visionary scientist, stolen genius, never forgotten. Her stolen research was posthumously credited to her. Conferences, publications, and awards recognized her original work. Scholarships were established in her name, supporting young female chemists pursuing careers in polymer science. Every October, Lakewood University holds a ceremony in her honor. James Chen attends each year, watching as students and researchers celebrate Sophia's brilliance. In the lecture halls, lab benches, and conference rooms, her spirit inspires the next generation of scientists. Detective Torres reflected on the case in a closing interview. "Killers aren't always hiding in dark alleys," he said. "Sometimes they are in plain sight, respected, admired, trusted." Richard Hartwell walked over Sophia's body for 17 years. Without advances in DNA technology and genetic genealogy, we might never have known. Justice came late, but it came. Sophia Chen finally has her name, her work, and her story restored. The world remembers her as the brilliant scientist she was, not as a victim of a jealous man. Students in Lab 304 sometimes feel a presence, a gentle inspiration, a reminder of brilliance lost but now honored. Whether it is Sophia's spirit, memory, or the echo of her work, it is a quiet guardian of curiosity and innovation. James Chen summed it up perfectly in a recent interview. "I can't get my daughter back, but now I know her legacy is in the right hands. Sophia's work lives on, her name lives on, and finally the truth is known." As the story concludes, the lab hums with activity. Young chemists conduct experiments, publish findings, and dream of breakthroughs. And every October, when the leaves fall and the campus is quiet, someone whispers her name: Sophia Chen, and the world remembers. If this story moved you, please subscribe and hit the like button. Every subscription helps us continue investigating cold cases that families are still waiting to see solved. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and which unsolved case you'd like us to cover next.